All right, let's talk about it, shall we? Um, Essentially, this video is about the Denver Broncos and where they went wrong. I, as I was working on this video, typing it up, the Denver Broncos decided they were going to dominate the Cowboys and just put on a wonderful performance, both offense and defense. So I thought, let's put this video off for a little bit, see how they do against the Eagles. And as we all know, pitiful performance yesterday. So, anyways, here's where did the Denver Broncos go wrong, and potentially what can they do to change it. So, the last 5 years, the Denver Broncos have truly been a disappointing franchise, to say the least. The last 6 years have been rough. Being a Denver Broncos fan, no, not able to find stability at quarterback. The defense has been okay, but offense has really been our weak point. We've been through two head coaches, um, Vic and Vance Joseph, since 2015 with Gary Kubiak. In 2015, although the Denver Broncos did come out on top, that does not mean that they had their fair share of struggles offensively. And I think that was where the problems truly started, because the Broncos were a incredibly mediocre offense carried by a wonderful defense. Peyton Manning was struggling with age and a foot injury. Brock Osweiler came in off the bench to fill in for a couple games, get us a couple wins, put us in a good spot for that year. The wide receiver room was actually stacked fairly well. It had Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and Andre Caldwell. Andre Caldwell being, the least of that three that performed well. The running backs that year were Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson. They were a very great 1-2 punch for the backfield. Hillman's speed, Anderson's bruiser style made it to where they could be versatile with the running back room. But the defense, oh man, that defense, that is truly what carried the Denver Broncos to a victory in the Super Bowl that year over the Carolina Panthers. The front seven: Von Miller, Derek Wolfe, Danny Trevathan, young Shaq Barrett. Unfortunately, the Broncos let him walk. Brandon Marshall, Sylvester Williams, Malik Jackson boasted a very tough front seven. And then, of course, ask any Denver fan, no-fly zone. 100% no-fly zone. Aqib Talib, T.J. Ward, Darian Stewart, Chris Harris Jr., and then you had Bradley Roby as the third cornerback in that no-fly zone. One of the greatest defenses to ever take the field, and they proved so in stopping the number one offense led by Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. We're going to come back to today. The offense is eerily similar. A very average Teddy Bridgewater, check down Teddy, two-glove Teddy, whatever you want to call him. Two-headed running back room, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, a wonderful, truly wonderful, untapped potential wide receiver room, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick. They deserve better at the quarterback position. They do have, however, a much better tight end than they did that year. They've got Noah Fant compared to Virgil Green. Not that Virgil Green is bad, he's just not as good as Noah Fant. The defense, not as impactful as in 2015, but is still fairly stout. Shelby Harris, Alexander Johnson, Josie Jewell, and up until 2 weeks ago, Von Miller. Unfortunate. I was hoping he would retire a Bronco, but I understand why they let him go. It's a business decision. Best for both him and the team. The secondary, hopeful, but underperforming. We've got Ronald Darby, Patrick Surtain, Bryce Callahan, Kyle Fuller, and Justin Simmons. And of course, Kareem Jackson. Like I said, very hopeful, but they've been not performing that well this year. So, it's okay. Again, this team is eerily similar to the 2015 roster. Fairly decent defense with a very mediocre offense. The last 6 years has been tough to be a Denver Broncos fan. Not only because of underperforming, but because of the ever-revolving quarterback and head coach positions. The inability to draft a quarterback successfully has plagued the Denver Broncos They have drafted Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, which Trevor Siemian played on the 2015 Broncos team, but still not the point. We've also seen Drew Lock more recently, Brett Rippon, and Teddy Two Gloves. So very, very mediocre. The thing that's very frustrating is that the Denver Broncos are mediocre. However, they're so mediocre that they're neither good enough to compete and not bad enough to gain really good draft picks. Over the last 6 drafts, only twice has been in the top 10. One was at number 5, and last year's, or I guess this year's, was at number 9 whenever they grabbed Patrick Surtain. I don't think the Broncos should tank, but it's incredibly frustrating for the team to be, like I said, bad enough to not compete and not good enough to receive a top pick in the draft. Not that the Denver Broncos would know who to select with a top pick in the draft. Still. So, personally, I think most of the Denver Broncos' problems come from poor coaching and lackluster quarterback play. It really doesn't take a genius to figure out these 2 ideas. It's not rocket science. I do really believe if we were to get a new play caller for the offense in there, potentially a new head coach, I think we would see a big difference. Even with Teddy Bridgewater, even just a slightly above quarterback could do the job, which Teddy Bridgewater can do. It's just underutilization of the players week in, week out. It's incredibly frustrating. If we even were to get a slightly competent offensive coordinator and a slightly above quarterback in that room, I believe this offense would thrive. We've got far too much talent to be playing the way that we do. In conclusion, the Broncos suck, but they're not bottom barrel scraping horrible team. They're just mediocre. It's very frustrating. And there's really no telling when the Broncos will be able to escape this mediocrity. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my rant. I'm working on new videos. I'm going to be getting them out as much as I can. Yeah, thank you for watching. Peace.